Matrix is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of Shorts with Liz Clark. With over 20 years as a dedicated supporter of the fitness industry, we're thrilled to continue a partnership geared towards success for all those who believe in better.
Hello, and thanks for joining another episode of Shorts with Liz. This episode breaks down the top 2025 fitness trends identified by ACSM: wearable technology, mobile exercise apps, and fitness programs for older adults. We'll explore how these trends are driven by the latest research, their impact on user engagement and health outcomes, and how leading brands are driving innovative solutions that elevate the exercise experience. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Karlie Intlekofer, the global research scientist from Matrix Fitness. Karlie supports research-based findings to advance products and services that support healthy habits. Her favorite science topics are exercise science, consumer economics, neuroendocrinology, and chronobiology. She has worked for Matrix Fitness for over 7 years and has been advancing the fitness and wellness industry. So Karlie, we're just going to go ahead and jump in. I know you've had a long and very interesting career. So let's start with just a little bit of background on you. How long have you been a researcher, and what brought you to your current position with Matrix?
Well, thank you for having me, Liz. It's a pleasure. My background is probably similar to many of the listeners in that I loved exercise, team sports. I loved staying active. And so when I had a chance to get more education, I went for a degree in health and exercise science. I wanted to really understand how the body works and how the body's changed by exercise. I also had a dual interest in how the brain is changed by exercise. So I've been involved in research for over 20 years. I started in the early 2000s at Colorado State University, completed more research at UMass Amherst in New England, where I got my doctorate in neuroscience and behavior, and more research still in my postdoctorate at UC Irvine at the Mind Institute. That's where I really got to focus in on how exercise affects the brain, including how it changes, how it ages, how you learn and remember things, and how I got more interested in the human side that is the best practices, because sometimes research will point to an optimal workout or an optimal way to stay active, but that may not at all jive with someone's personal interests, their preferences, or even their availability schedule-wise. So I've been really interested in this intersection. How does the timing of your workouts, how does the hormones release when you work out, how does the people you're around influence your workout, and how can we fold this into helping people get better workouts overall? The reason why I care about the quality of that workout, again, isn't just because it's changing the body and the brain, but because it's changing people's lives. And as research continues to accumulate, I felt more emboldened about getting the word out there. And so Matrix Fitness was a very strong fit for me in terms of my passion, because what I saw as a researcher and being in academia where you're working on grants and you're publishing is that a lot of that takeaway, a lot of the best practices do not get translated into actionable concepts that a fitness professional could use, could integrate into their practice. So I've been really pleased to see how much more the industry is inviting research-based concepts. They're open to it. They want to know what's going on. And even the end consumer is more interested in research than I ever imagined. Just as an example, I had learned about cellular organelles, the really boring sciencey stuff like mitochondria. And I never thought in a million years that decades later, there would be people after talks asking me about mitochondria. I mean, these are not terms that you expect the fitness consumer to know or to understand or to care about. Now it's becoming a lot more top of mind as they're following their favorite influencers or listening to their favorite podcasts so that they're able to hear about, oh, what's the latest and greatest and how can I apply it to my life? I'm really interested in this interdisciplinary approach because, like I said, what's best on paper does not always mean best for that individual. So along the way, I've gained a real appreciation for matching the person to the challenge, which isn't a new concept, but it's something that we have to continually innovate on, especially in the age of AI.
Wow. Okay, man, let's go to school. This is awesome. You've got me fired up and just tremendous energy. So can we talk a little bit today about how some of the modern fitness brands are actually using the research to impact and direct their decisions on programming, equipment, and what those trends are doing to consumer behavior? And tell us a little bit more about the types of research that you're working on right now.
Well, one of the main things about any equipment manufacturer is that you have to come up with products that serve a wide range of individuals. And that seems like baseline, right? But over the years, there have been more ergonomic improvements where we can get the angles just right. We can get the adjustments just right so that we can really serve a wider range of bodies, not just short, tall, but large, small, everything in between, including people who may have some limitation of some kind, a mobility issue, or maybe they're just returning to the gym after some time off for pregnancy or injury or you name it. So we're really interested in testing and listening, importantly. Sometimes we think we have it all covered, but as we return to customers, year after year, month after month, and we ask them what they're seeing on the floor, we get even more insight, and that can help us make another iteration, another shift, another change. Sometimes it's basic things like how stable a piece of equipment is, or what types of people we're showcasing in our placards or in our video support, right? So we don't always know what we're going to anticipate, but by keeping a close relationship with that customer, those gym owners, operators, those fitness professionals, we get the feedback we need to keep innovating, which is so important because all of the equipment has really improved over the last decade or two. I mean, you really wouldn't recognize some of the equipment from the 90s, of course. It's going to keep getting better and better. We also make sure that it looks right and that it can be adjusted for that facility. So if they want a more premium look or they want something that matches their color scheme, of course, equipment providers are very used to these types of requests. We're also looking at testing ourselves more. So as we test our equipment, our programming, our options for people to test on, like on console, we want to see their click path. We want to see where they look. We want to see what they're distracted by and what they like, because sometimes the results aren't always what you expect. I know that when we've had partnerships with folks who had low visual acuity, we didn't realize what a star an LED console was going to be for that demographic. There was a few papers on it here and there, but it's not until you get them into your facility to test it out that you realize that there's a huge difference based on a person's abilities, what they're going to prefer, what experience they're going to want. We also know that people are most likely to hit that green go button that's on so many treadmills, so much cardio equipment.
Me, guilty.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's very convenient. We try to make it easy to adjust and easy to see and easy to get started. But we are also asking the question, how can we engage them for longer? How can we challenge them to maybe push the intensity a bit if they're open to it? What are the types of programming questions we need to ask to get a more complete picture of the user so that we can help them define their workout time, duration, if there's intervals, how hard are they going, et cetera. So what's the number of questions we could ask? What types of questions we could ask? And how do we get them moving as soon as possible so that we can reduce the annoyances that come with exercise? What do? I don't know where to start. What's going to fit me, right? Of course, lastly, we're looking at things like gamification. So many other groups look at gamification also, but we're trying to come up with ways to stoke that exercise motivation because everyone's got different motivators, but we want them to find their passion at that facility, on that equipment, moving their bodies in ways that help them form a really good relationship with exercise, help them really appreciate what their body can do so that really the quality of the equipment becomes a background issue. We want them to expect more because that's what we can deliver. And we want it to be more like that's a background issue rather than that's the star of the show. They are the star of the show, the hero of their own lives, their own fitness journey. And we want them to feel empowered every step of the way. We do collaborate, of course, with the NSCA for some of our strength protocols, and of course with HFA as well. We're interested in anything that's supporting this data-driven initiative, this push to use all the info we can to help deliver the best possible exercise experience. We know that it's the quality of that experience that keeps members coming back for that in-facility, push. And even on the retail side, they have to have a good time. It's not about grueling and killing themselves on using that equipment or that device or that product. It's really about, did they have a good time? Did they work up a sweat? Can they smile at the end? There's a lot of other things that we're focused on beyond just hardware, nuts and bolts.
You touched on so much there. And one of the things there at the end was about partnerships, which are so important. It's a partnership that we have had with you all for so long that we're so thankful for. And another tremendous partnership we have is with the American College of Sports Medicine, ACSM. and they've just released some of their top trends for 2025. So if you're okay, I'd love to dig into maybe the top three that what's recently just come out of ACSM. So
Yeah,
number
let's do it.
three, okay, the number three on the list is exercise for older adults. We're seeing this trend within the research that we're producing as well. Most recently, we released our global report for 2024, which covers international wellness trends, and one that sits high on the rise across the globe is older adults. So some of the discoveries that are emerging in the active aging community, tell us about what you're seeing from that.
This actually touches on some of my own personal research. So I'm thrilled that it's been very consistently in those top 10, top 15 trends over the last decade. But essentially, we all know that population aging is coming, right? It's been called the silver tsunami. There's a lot of different ways it's been addressed. But the truth is, we're going to see a greater proportion, especially in the US, of individuals who are over age 65. And more research is pointing to how important an active lifestyle is for their quality of life, for maintaining independence, and in my world, especially for maintaining their sharp thinking skills. It's one of the biggest fears of folks 50 and over is that they'll start to lose their ability to learn and remember. Even when you forget names, I'm not quite in that category age-wise yet, but even when I forget names of something, I'm going, uh-oh, you get this extra sense of, ooh, I gotta really focus here, right? So what we're seeing with active aging and this goal for more programming for older individuals is a really positive step, because it's estimated that by 2050, 1 in 5 individuals will be over age 65. So if our customers, the gym owners, operators, the fitness professionals, if they want to be able to keep recruiting and retaining, then they really need to understand what serves this population best. One place that we can get some ideas about how to anticipate where the research is going is by looking at who's getting the grant funding through the National Institutes for Health. And that's, public domain. You can Google the NIH reporter and see where are the grants going, what individuals are getting granted these sums of money to run experiments. A ton of it is on chronic conditions, both prevention, maintaining, and so that that condition doesn't get worse, and reversing those conditions in some cases. As you may be aware, there's some chronic conditions that we can reverse with an active lifestyle, things related to heart disease, things related to our blood sugar regulation, frailty, osteoporosis. A lot of these are still hot topics with a lot of research funding in the millions every year, right? And that tells us what papers will come down the line. Those papers, those inform a lot of how exercise professionals are educated. They inform a lot about what people learn about, because a lot of these top discoveries are picked up by common podcasts, or picked up even by the news, and even the other ways we get our news information, like TikTok and Instagram. We're finding that a health influencer they're really increasing their game at bringing us the latest and greatest. A lot of this, again, is pointing to how do we support an older individual who may already have a chronic condition. Lastly, we know that the health care costs are considerably high, especially here in the US, and people want to make sure that they're leading a life where they're not burdened by so many chronic conditions. Unfortunately, with population aging, we're on track right now to almost double our chronic conditions prevalence in the US. So having the right healthcare providers, the right support in place, the right resources for people, so that when your doctor says you need to get more active, or that blood pressure is creeping up, or those blood lipids are a little off, that you have exercise-based resources, you have a fitness community that you can join at any age or stage of life. So this trend has very much been dominant on the trends list. I think it will continue. And a big reason, again, is that we're recognizing how important it is to lead an active life. Just one stat from my work on Alzheimer's, which was something that was really important to me, this preservation of memories, and exercise is really good at helping that part of your brain stay healthy. We know that there's different types of dementia. Some of them don't affect memories immediately. They affect other things first. But if we just look at general dementia risk, we're finding that people who have active lives are reducing their dementia risk by 28%. which is amazing to me because there's millions of lives affected. It's not just the person with dementia, but as anyone with a big family knows, it's the caregivers too. It's the other support as well. And it's the quality of life, most importantly, because we want our friends and family to lead those long, healthy lives. And then if you look at Alzheimer's, that type of dementia that features memory impairment as one of its core symptoms, the results are even better because exercise activates this part of the brain and helps it stay healthy. So when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, we see that leading an active life can cut the risk by 45 to 48%. That's almost in half. And so as someone who has this in my family, as do millions of Americans and people around the world, I'm thrilled that we're finally getting the word out that yes, you can embrace more physical activity at any age. And yes, we're now better as an industry at supporting you in that journey, which can be hard. It can be intimidating. There's a lot of, there's a lot of excuses we can use for not making it to that facility or not purchasing that equipment and using it regularly. But with stats like this, almost a half, the risk reduced almost in half. These types of stats may be able to move the needle for some people for motivation. Now, I will say, talking about dementia is not something I expect every fitness professional to be comfortable with or even want to broach because it's deemed as a very hard and negative topic. But I still think that there's ways to rephrase the message, especially for people like myself who really want to stay sharp if I can as I age, because we're talking really about preserving quality of life. So I'm thrilled to see this in the top 3. I think active aging needs to be supported as much as possible. And the results coming out of the research are just incredibly encouraging. Whether we're talking about someone who's dealing with cognitive impairment or has just had a heart transplant, the results across the board are exceptionally positive, and they provide a lot of hope for someone like me who wants to see a more active, albeit older, population in the future.
We both share that, and I'll tell you, I love that stat. I'm going to go take that to all of my the people in my family, all of my aunts and uncles. My mom's very, very active, so I got her checked, but others, that's a really powerful stat. And I love the term the silver tsunami. So if you haven't copywritten that, we might. It's really good, and it's coming. So let's just keep digging into that a little bit, if we can, a little bit more on this. So how does all of this impact the way that fitness facilities or equipment and product companies like Matrix are going to actually meet the needs of these consumers?
I think it really starts with inclusive product design, and this has the ability to reach people at all ages because, of course, we all have different needs, different intellectual abilities, different, sensory impairments and whatnot. There's so much diversity out there that really wasn't being met by the equipment of 30 to 50 years ago. Now with console technology, with a lot more biomechanics, with a lot more product testing, we can really make sure that we can focus on accessibility. This also extends to just making sure that the customer, the person who owns the facility, is aware how important it is to have those curb cuts, that easy pathway through the facility, those locker rooms that accommodate a range of users. So I've been really thrilled to see that this is emerging as a side trend along with active aging, because of course, as we get older, we just accumulate orthopedic injuries, and that's normal. So, I don't really know anyone who's over age 50 who's been highly active that hasn't endured at least one, probably minor, hopefully, orthopedic injury, but still many more have had knee or shoulder surgeries or a hip replacement. This is becoming quite common. And so to make sure they can stay active, we need to make sure that equipment has the features that accommodate a diverse range of people. This includes things like low step-through heights, easy entry and exit, more safety features so that there are a lower risk of an accident in the facility or an accident using equipment. But it also just includes having a wider product portfolio. I know that one of the things we're really interested in is getting out the word about our new upper body cycle. And I've been thrilled about this because as someone who had a major lower back injury, I had to use an upper body cycle to train for a while. Now, no one looking from the outside would have known that. But see, I actually do represent quite the average consumer, right? You endure some physical issues, you work through them, But what we realized from the research is that if we can help people stay active as they go through different forms of recovery, if we can give them an option for movement as they're getting back to 100% or whatever their 100% is, that gives us the best health outcomes. That's certainly been my lived experience, and it's also what we're seeing in the research. So I think the active aging trend coming in at number 3 this year just puts more fire under the equipment providers to make sure their equipment is diverse, it's accessible, it's providing an inclusive experience. And that can also help take some of the load off of the exercise instructor or the person guiding the workout, because they know they have an array of equipment, an array of options that'll serve that person's needs. Even if, like me, for 6 months, I couldn't really do any lower body lifting, but I could still get my cardio in using an upper body ergometer or an upper body cycle, just using the arms instead. So I think that those are things that really shape where these companies are going, because we know that what's coming is actually more demands on our ability to accommodate all these diverse people.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I had the privilege of seeing some of that equipment in person, and I know that you all will be bringing that equipment to our trade show in Las Vegas. So quick plug to come check out a lot of that equipment, March 12 to 14 in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to shift a little bit now to trend number 2, and that is around exercise apps. And let's talk about some of the specifics of what exercise apps are on the rise.
Yeah, it looks like apps are continuing to dominate this top of the list as well. It's just become a part of all of our lives, right? Who right now doesn't have their cell phone within reaching distance? Like it's virtually all of us. If you don't, you're one of the rare ones. With all the two-factor authentication too, with using our devices, phones are just, they're just part of our existence. When we have fitness apps, we know that people feel like they're more on track even before they start using them regularly. So this is a way to gain a little bit of a psychological advantage. You feel more prepared for that active lifestyle you're after. You also feel more informed, even if, again, you haven't done very much interaction with that app. And apps are continuing to raise their game to the consumer expectations, which are also going up. One of the big ways they're doing this is with personalization and integrating AI. This gives them a great way to make the experience more personalized to the end user. Progress monitoring is still important. We see that people who are willing to track what they're doing in some way, they actually have much better adherence success. They feel more value if it's a facility that is giving them access to the app as well. These facility linked apps, I think, are becoming more of a consumer expectation. Some apps are not facility linked. Of course, you can just download them at any time. They may have in-app purchases or they may have advertising. But a model where it's linked with a facility is especially important for adding that value. With click to cancel legislation just recently passed, we know that we have to think more about retention and engagement and keeping that customer aware, that end user aware, that every time they're interacting with our brand, they're getting something positive out of it. That's just central. You have to be providing that positive experience. When you have something that's personalized and it knows what your preferences are, it can deliver timely nudges for when you need them. It can deliver words of encouragement or motivation or inspiration, depending on what you want. So we're honing in on apps that are more catered to the individual than ever before. And at the same time, our on-demand content has never been higher quality. It's actually kind of amazing for me to look at the on-demand options that were available in like 2017 when we first started seeing this fitness apps kind of becoming huge, right? Now we see the production value is just so much higher. The music, the tempo, the movements, there's just so much more. And so we're seeing, just a much better experience for the user. So it's high quality and on-demand workouts, sometimes live workouts that are reigning very popular. Now, I took a look at who was most popular here, and there's no surprise. The Apple, Google's, Fitbits, we're seeing the same players at the top, but we're seeing more differentiation. So some apps are focusing more on the sleep exercise combination, or maybe they're integrating with a wearable and they're focusing more on heart rate variability and what that means for your workout. So we're seeing a lot more options for people to plug into if they're interested in the quantified self, if they want to track how they're doing, how they're performing, using different metrics, and have it really be a personalized experience. There's also apps, I have to say, that remain very popular for GPS tracking. So these would be for that fitness consumer who's, that Strava user, that someone who wants to integrate where they went and use it in a way that has more gamification and more social opportunities. That's where a lot of the innovation is coming on the app side. It's allowing that app user to recommend a workout for another, or share an accomplishment, a milestone, a small victory with others, and that helps give you that sense of community, that sense of camaraderie that fitness facilities are so good at. But with today's more remote workforce, more traveling, whatever it is, it gives other fitness consumers a chance to make the most out of that social domain of fitness as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said something, and I've been laughing in my head about sleep exercise. And I was like, I think it's only a matter of time before somebody comes up with an app that helps you exercise while you sleep, not just monitor both. It's coming. It's coming.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So listen, we're down to kind of the last final trend, and I guess it's really no shock based on, again, the popularity that the apps continue to have. And that's on wearable technology. And I know for me personally, I'll be going out next month to the Consumer Electronics Show, and to see all of the technologies that are coming out, the apps. I think it's going to be really exciting, and bringing a lot of those back to our show in Vegas. And finally, number one is wearable technology, which is also showing up in our HFA consumer research. We recently released both the US and Latin America consumer survey reports, and this trend stood out to us the same as ACSM's research. So let's talk about the trends that have shown up in this space.
All right, so the ACSM does a great job of collecting survey data from fitness professionals, fitness consumers, a wide range of folks who are responding to try to help us anticipate what these next trends are going to be. And I have to say, wearables, I think they're here to stay for certain. We know that they have a positive influence on exercise motivation. And maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there were more concerns about accuracy. Now we're realizing that it's really the individual's motivation level that is a target here. It's not just, are we getting the heart rates plus or minus 1 to 3? It's less of a concern there, more of a recognition that, hey, it's helping people get active. They enjoy it. There's a social component, maybe even a competitive component. Let's help them get more active than ever before. We know, we partner with MyZone, so we gain access to a lot of the stats that they're finding from their engaged users. And it's incredible. It's not just a workout tracker, but there's also options just through your general smartwatches that are extremely popular. All of these are really helping us see that the fitness consumer wants proof that what they're doing is working out. They want to see that their efforts in the gym are reflected in some way, some metric that they can put their finger on it. And that's exactly what wearables are so good at, right? They're giving you personalized data about how you're functioning today. You can look at that over time. You can race the ghost, so competing with yourself. And with wearable, you have the option and facility of having a leaderboard. Leaderboards, we know, really are excellent for exercise motivation. And when they're tied to something like heart rate, a general metric, it scales nicely to different fitness levels. So if you're not very fit, but you're working out exactly in that range, that percentage of your max heart rate, let's say, that gives you a proxy measurement of intensity and ensures everyone in that class, on that spin bike, everyone is experiencing that shared experience. That seems to be really important. When we think about loneliness is a big deal. And you might think wearables, that's only for one person. That's kind of a solitary individual pursuit. But it actually lends itself quite a bit to feeling like you're part of something greater. You're part of a bigger group. You're part of a fitness motivated group. That's
community.
Exactly. It's that sense of community. So we know that these wearables are constantly improving. They're getting more accurate over time. They're getting better at giving you those personalized insights that you need to stay hooked. And equipment providers, including Matrix, are prioritizing integration so that it's a fast process to get on the equipment and it knows what your heart rate is, and they're all that technology is talking to each other on the back end seamlessly. That's really what we're interested in. We also know that wearables are going to be more important for special populations. If you're someone who has heart failure or heart disease, or you've been diagnosed with cancer, all of these major diagnoses that many of us will face in our lifetimes, your doctor may want some feedback about, oh, well, how hard are you working out? And we're seeing that physician education is improving as well. So they're also learning more about movement benefits, exercise benefits for all of these different chronic conditions. Some of the capabilities that I'm seeing out there are honestly just surprising for me, because these were capabilities that only existed in a clinic, that only existed in the healthcare system. But now we're seeing people monitoring not just heart rate, but also their blood pressure, their oxygen saturation, in some cases, body temperature or breathing rate. I had mentioned heart rate variability, which can give us a sense of whether you're a little stressed, you're well recovered or not, right? But I think, as well as sleep quality. But I think tying these all together is where the real value comes, because what I love to see is a fitness consumer who's able to notice that that extra glass of wine impacted their sleep quality and impacted their exercise achievements the next day, or able to notice that that late night out, how did that affect heart rate variability? How did that affect, their peak exercise output the next day? So it's tying that together for the individual, which really takes both the app and the wearable in most cases, where I think we're making some huge gains. And really what we want is the person to develop sustainable habits that they can do for their life, for their lifetime, that they can stay motivated. They have a metric they can look at that's reliable. And they can use that to stoke that passion for getting back to that group exercise class or getting back on the bike, whatever it is. So yeah, number one is wearable technology. The ACSM has been showing us that this has been a hot topic for 10 years now. They've had, I think, like 7 or 8 top 1 finishes in that trends list over the last 9 or 10 years. So I think they're probably here to stay. And as their capabilities get better, I think consumers are going to be even more delighted by the products that are being turned out.
Yeah, so to that point, so then how can fitness companies and equipment manufacturers and products capitalize on this wearables craze? And what kind of innovations are you seeing, or maybe even advanced integrations to help capitalize on this?
Well, the facility has a great advantage over workouts at home in that it has a motivating environment. Most people, when they walk into a fitness facility, if they have a previous positive experience, they actually are like tuning themselves up for a good workout. So it already has a great environment, but now you combine this with the ability to get really accurate challenges, for example, and this just spells engagement for that owner operator, right? They want that engagement so that they have people who are valuing their membership and people who will stay and will, really look nowhere else. And that's really what they want. I had mentioned leaderboards before. That is a huge adherence advantage. If they have, and it's pretty simple, right? Groups like MyZone make it so that it's closer to plug and play than ever before. You just have to have the monitor, and they help guide you through how to set it up. There's other social sharing options as well. Sometimes you just end up as a fitness consumer bonding with others who are measuring similar metrics. So I think that it's a great benefit for a facility to be very integration positive, very wearable positive, even though we know not every consumer is going to wear that wearable in the long term. The goal to me, because I'm always thinking about behavior, is as long as it's supporting an enduring habit that you're doing on the regular, then it wins, right? So to me, I may have some friends and family who are really curious about blood pressure, or really curious about these other metrics. That's not my interest, but whatever it is, I'm encouraging across the board, because I want them to be engaged in their own health journey. When you go home at night from work, for most people, it's really easy to just dissociate, right? We scroll on our phones as we watch Netflix, we watch YouTube or watch a sports game or whatever, but we're not actually fully feeling how our body is feeling. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting for hour 8, 9, 10, 11. A lot of us are sitting, right? So if we were really focused on how our bodies feel, I think that's a move in the right direction. And wearables give you some feedback that makes you tune into that factor. So I think that there's still a need for fitness professionals to stay on top of what wearables are measuring and what that means, because that's an area where they can really add extra value. Not only is the in-person value of getting to know your members and your clients' needs, but also helping them interpret what that means. If someone has high or low heart rate variability, what I'm finding, speaking to a lot of personal trainers, is it's confusing. You don't really know how to guide the next thing. And yes, you can let the Whoop strap tell them, but if they're giving you feedback that includes how they feel, I think a fitness professional really adds a lot of value when they understand how all those markers of health are, what is that telling you about the person and whether they should have higher intensity, lower intensity, a longer workout, a shorter one, et cetera. But overall, I think it's great because, again, it's personalized. It's specific to the person. And all of us encounter different challenges, from temporary illnesses to major chronic conditions. So I think that the wearables are here to stay as number one, and the equipment manufacturer side is going to continue to integrate all of those wearables, all of those apps in to make it a more seamless, enjoyable experience for the end user.
Yes. Okay. Well, listen, this could go on forever, but we're going to close. But one thing that's really important to our industry, and it has been for a while, is research driving a lot of these decisions in order to make a healthier population. So tell us a little bit, what's next for research that's keeping Matrix on the cutting edge of all these technologies?
Well, part of the role that I play is in creating a research hub, an area where we can, collect and simplify a lot of the research that's coming out of academia. Almost no one has time to read those longer reports, those papers that are peer reviewed, but that's actually one of my passions. I really enjoy that part of it. So by speaking with those professors, those research scientists, by reading their work and pulling out the important parts, we're helping to guide better experiences because we have more informed customers through that research hub interaction. We also know that on the equipment side, we need to continue to push the boundaries of accessibility. We want to accommodate more people. We're going to need to accommodate a wider range of people, right? So we want to make sure that that facility owner has confidence that this has been tested, for these different reasons, that this, that we have a low starting speed on our treadmills, that we have something that is going to make it easier as they walk through the facility rather than more cumbersome or more confusing. So we're continuing to test on more diverse populations to make sure we can serve them adequately. And the other thing I think a lot about are little tiny details. If you have an injury to a shoulder, then you may not realize that by continuing to work out as normal with your other shoulder, you'll actually get some spillover benefits to the hurt shoulder, even if it's not moving. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you're wearing a cast, does that mean that you should drop your gym membership? I want the fitness consumer to resoundingly understand, no, there are plenty of options in there for me to stay on track with some of my fitness goals. It may not be all of them, of course. When we have injury, that's not always the case, but the goal being, do we have equipment that can support someone who wants to independently use their arms or independently use their legs? Do we have stuff that will accommodate someone as they're trying to get more active again, and it's been a long time? So those types of questions about serving a user with unusual needs or someone who's more rare, and also serving someone who's bouncing back after some time away, those are things that are like close to my heart, because when I first started personal training, I was shocked by that, because I'd been in my head thinking, oh, I'm going to work with elite athletes, right? My first personal training client hadn't worked out for like 20 years. So I'm starting to realize that, making exercise a lifelong habit means supporting it through exercise, through life's up and downs, right? Because exercise can be there all along. It just might look a little different when you're recovering from different things or you're going through different stressful times in your life. I think with a wide array of equipment and services, and certainly with these adherence tools like wearables, we can help more people stay active for more of their life. And we know that that's going to result in a higher quality of life and more independence.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Dr. Intlekofer. It has been an honor to spend this time with you and for you to share your insights with us and for us to discuss all of these trends that are coming. So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to next steps.
Thank you so much.